Welcome to Candid Talks. My name's Shawn, and today I'd like to talk about me, about how I started in the theater industry. See, I had created this production company called Self-Preservation Productions, and the idea was simple. I wanted to bring together people that were starting off in the industry that perhaps didn't have the opportunities or the money or the training to do the jobs that they really, really wanted to do. And so I hired the actors, the stage design, and the directors and producers and all the people. And I hired them on the idea that we were raising money for charity. I did 2 productions and I had dozens of people that I hired, and I put on 2 productions that I had written, 2 plays that I had written, and I directed one of them. And so those 2 productions never really were the success financially that I would have hoped in order to continue, so I didn't continue. And from there, I continued to write movie scripts and market them for sale, none which ever were able to see the day of light, at least not to my knowledge. As you know, what you're listening to right now, I do a Candid Talks podcast, and this idea that I had was to simply share what I've learned, share the information that I've heard from other people, some mentors, gurus, other books, Paul Selig and such, and share this information which I have studied long, thoughtfully upon. And simply, this information is just how I perceive things, how I've learned things, how I understand things in this current moment. I'm always open to changing how I view things based on new information. So one of the things that I have had the opportunity to do is when through practicing discernment, when I've realized that perhaps something I thought was no longer correct. And that's kind of funny that it would be. So in addition to that, I foresee series, and this series is really more about envisioning the future that I would prefer, what I would like to see, and done through art and music and words and high crafted words that accompany the music and that show really nice, beautiful pictures. That was the whole idea, giving us some sort of foresight on the positive things that I can foresee. Not as that I'm looking into a crystal ball and seeing things. It means I foresee means I would prefer to see. I would prefer to put this before me, to project this from me so that I could see. And then there was the Possibilities podcast. And this whole concept was around what if scenarios, and not what if from the bad perspective. One of my mentors said never to get into playing the what if game. And that can be seen as 2 ways for the what if game. It's what if I had done this, like some sort of guilt tripping yourself. However, what I mean is, what if this possibility did occur? And it allows us to stay in a state of wonder. And the reason why wonder is a really positive state is because it's a high vibrational with no expectations. You're not attached to an outcome of the future. So being in a state of wonder is leaving yourself open for what does happen. And within that state of wonder, you're speculating what could happen. And so this idea with possibilities, the whole idea is to spark wonder by bringing up other topics that wouldn't normally have been discussed, such as love beyond what could love be, or if trees were to grow from telephone poles. See, it's not about whether or not this could happen. It's more so the wondering of these different possibilities. Next, the Do No Thing challenge. I've noticed that there's a lot of scrollers, and even by my own testing on the analytics on YouTube, it shows me averages. And so if I put up a 1-minute video and I get an average of 12 seconds, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with the video. It means that the people that are viewing the video only stay there for that long. And I've had some videos that have done thousands of views, and the attention span is quite short in the shorts. And so I designed these short videos for 1-minute meditations. And why that's important is because it's important for us, even if we can only take 1 minute of do nothing, like to hollow out and just be, like, step into the now for 1 minute, to not concern ourselves with the past, not concern ourselves with the future, and to take that 1 minute breather. And I created those videos from mostly 1 minute, and there's a couple that are longer than that, just to give something fun and creative to pass the time. And some of the music's pretty decent. Or water. Water tends to harmonize with people a lot, so I like to use that. Where I am now is with the creations, art and such that I'm doing. I call it digital art. I realized it was even the stuff, if I'm just taking videos of nature and then I'm doing something with it, it's still somewhat digital art. I love nature, so it works out pretty well. Where all this is leading me is to basically what YouTube asked me to do in the beginning. They said YouTube recommended that I do an intro video to my channel. And so, in a sense, I had to create the channel to do a intro video to the channel, because New Earth Creations is not necessarily about one type of creation. I've done some painting and somehow worked it into my digital. Like, I've done some actual painting, and I tried working it into the digital backgrounds and backdrops and stuff. I'm trying to incorporate digital world as well as the physical world through digital art. With all this being said, there's more to it. There's more to the channel. There's also a message, and a message really is about sharing truth and possibilities and truth. Some more of that, like big piles of truth, lots of possibilities, breaking free from the way it was last generation, the generation, and opening doors to just possibility, and allowing that maybe there are other ways of doing things, and maybe there are other histories that we were unaware of, and maybe there are, well, definitely maybe if there are other ways to do things. I got lots of those ideas. I'm also sharing, as I said, what I believe to be truth. And essentially, one of the things that I believe to be truth is that all humans are special. And what I mean by that is that when Jesus said he is of God, he said he is of. I believe that Jesus said that he was of source, he was of God, and that everything is of God, and that God is the source of all things. And so, source, God, being of is a very important key particle. And that's why I called this video, I am God, duh, I am. Because the particle duh is showing a connection and attribution. In Latin etymology, of and from and originating from would be that particle duh. So the idea is it's to be of. The universal meaning of that particle is to be of. So Jesus was saying, I am of God. This is important because Jesus was supposedly then saying, not supposedly, I think he was saying that he came from God. He was of God. Now, in our modern text, we'll call that the son of, in that father-son relationship. However, I feel that a lot of beings, when they would see a being who had more ability to do stuff, that they would see them as of God, like as God. A lot of our ancestors possibly did do that they would look back on beings that came to them, whether it was the Spaniards coming over to the South American peoples, tribes, the Aztecs, the Mayans, whatever it was. They saw them as superior beings in the sense that their technology was supposedly higher, that it kind of looked like maybe magic, whether that was true or not. And so I believe that humans, although I have not fully understood or grasped it or used it, I believe that we are all of God in there, and we do have powers of unimaginable ability when we are able to practice them, when we're able to do them. There are people now who do portions of what we are able to do: telepathy, manifestations at a higher level, seeing things that other people can't see, auras and beings and light orbs and lots of different things. And there are people on this planet who have figured out how to use these abilities. However, I do believe these abilities to be inherently divine in everyone. They would need to align with the version of themselves that are able to recall having those abilities and knowing how to use them. And so that's where healing comes in. And I think healing is super important because this will allow everyone to start releasing all these traumas. And then together we can start healing Earth, or assisting the healing to Earth, or at least stop being a detriment to the Earth. And so the one source concept that I subscribe to, or that I believe in, I don't know if believes is to hold an opinion. So that's one of those illuminating words that I wanted to do, or that I was going to do, or is to believe. And to believe is to hold an opinion. Yeah, it's important that we know our words, but I have faith. There it is. I have faith that there is a source, and that source, we can give it the name God if we like. Like, I don't really know what the word God means outside of God. The idea is that God is the supreme being, is the creator of all things. And when we get into that we are of God, it implies, or basically follows the law of reasoning, that we are therefore creator beings too. And there's a lot to be said in the amount of information that I have acquired, where we are beings that had the powers of God. We're not God, but we had the powers of God because we were of God, and we had the ability to create. And that's essentially what we do all the time, is we create the realities that we all live in individually. In this introduction, I'm introducing you to what I've come to see and believe so that you'll understand. And it's not important that anyone follows or agrees or aligns with me, or I think the important part is that we all respect one another and perhaps learn from one another about one another. It'll allow some of these walls to be broken down that have been fabricated. So this video that I'm doing it as an introduction to who I am. And this is the art that I found beautiful. See, when I was creating my videos, and you've been watching the art for this whole time, when I was creating my videos, I worked with an AI called Jasper AI, and I co-created. Like, I told Jasper what I was looking for. I gave colors and textures and the different styles and a lot of other key information. And with the things that I would write or compose, Jasper would articulate it in the way that it saw it. And it gave me thousands upon thousands of possibilities. And it was just amazing. And then I hand selected each of the images that are seen, and they're not perfect. When I first created it, especially the one that has to do with lust, I was working on a smaller screen, so I wasn't able to fully see some of the obvious inconsistencies of the pictures and the obviousness that they weren't real. But then I realized that none of it's real. And even the photographs that we get out, like the camera has functions into it to change it. I've been in some really crazy lighting conditions when I'm taking video, and then the video is perfectly lit on my phone, but it was in a darker area when I was looking at it. But the phone actually itself seems to have technology built into that makes the picture more appealing as it's being taken. I really enjoyed being in that state of creativity and creating all of these beautiful pictures. So many of them having to do with love and the love of whomever. I really loved all these pictures of love between couples of all types and families of all types and possibilities of all types. And so I just wanted to give you a short introduction to who I am and the art that I'm creating and the ideas that I have, the books. I'll be reading a lot of books. I like reading. I like learning. I love self-mastery. I love stretching and expanding my mind and thinking about all the possibilities of what the world could be. Because that's the one most important key, is that our true currency is our attention. Where we put our attention is where we direct our energy. And whether it's energy in the form of money in the pocket, or energy as in the physical energy which you have within you, or if it's something more celestial, where we put our energy is where we put everything that we are. And our attention is one of our strongest, biggest amounts of energy. And so when we're focused externally on something, we're sending our energy, we're directing our energy towards that. Even if you can't physically see it, your thoughts, your concentration, your words, all of that's energy and all of it's going to wherever you are thinking. So if you're thinking about the people you don't like, you are sending your energy towards the person you don't like, as opposed to directing your energy inwards on the topic of healing. This is all going to come back to self-healing because no one out there is going to heal anybody. Healing is all internal, and healing can only be done inwards. So it's what you heal within that makes the big difference. TFT, amazing way for healing to happen. And it's very simple to simply do it on yourself, to learn how to practice TFT on yourself, and you take your healing back into your hands. I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone. However, it's worked for hundreds of thousands of people already, apparently, and it helped me. And so I'm able to recommend it. And as I mentioned before, one of the eventual benefits that I'm going to add on the Patreon community is I'm going to create a library of videos of me doing TFT as a practitioner. So the idea when TFT is done is that when you come in with a practitioner, you sit with them, you guys have a short talking session, and then there's a series of algorithms that are tapped on different parts of the body. And those algorithms have the ability, as you're tapping on them, to disrupt the traumas that you hold in your field. And doing it with belief long enough, because when you do the right things long enough and remain consistent, so the benefits were amazing. And so that's why I feel inclined to put these videos of me doing these different sequences. So the idea is there'll be several videos. You'll go on there, you'll find whatever trauma you've decided that the feeling is that you're having. Could be anxiety, could be stress, it could be complex stress or more advanced. And anyways, there's lots of different ones, and you can essentially follow the video along and do the tapping sequence on yourself and perhaps even teach yourself. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do with Patreon. And I highly recommend learning how to do it for yourself. But this will be a small library and a small thank you to all the Patreon members, as a thank you to all the people. I want to give the people who are there access to healing themselves. And they can choose to watch the videos and do it as much as they want, little as they want. So I'm going to leave it there. However, I want to end with one thing. I recognize that everything changes. What I mean by that is that there'll come a day when there's going to be more comments than I can comment back to. So I definitely want to encourage anyone who's listening to comment now and to spark conversations. Like perhaps you'll be the one who sparks all those comments to come, because comments aren't necessarily going to be coming to me. My goal with commenting or encouraging commenting is to get people to open up and talk about their own experiences and share them out in the world, because the interesting thing is your comments could spark someone else's healing. I do really like to comment to comments, and I understand the algorithms of YouTube are going to be happier with me if people are commenting. However, it really does come down to comments will encourage and inspire others. I've read some amazing things in people's comments, and sometimes people open up in the comments and they'll say something, and if there's a receptive energy around, healing can happen. Just people being heard, people communicating, connecting, like that can possibly do 180s in people's lives. And so when I encourage people to comment, it's not really about me. It's not even about the channel. It's about that one person who's going to resonate with what you said straight from your heart, or your favorite emoji that put a smile on their face. And so get out there and comment. And as I said, one day there's going to be more comments than I'm able to connect with. Yeah, the opportunity. So there's the opportunity now. So thank you for joining me today. I feel that these videos are going to take a lot of time to edit, but perhaps I feel a little more free now just to simply say. And if I take a long pause, then that translates into, yes, there's a big chunk of time that I pulled off, because I really did enjoy over the last 2 days editing my 3 different videos that I did on the exploratoriums and the healing centers and the 5-day hikes. And I made the all 3 videos smaller because I recognize that the long pauses can distract people, especially when I'm taking a pause with a word and then a pause and another word, and that can become quite distracting and lose my own concentration of thought on what I was listening to. So those 3 videos, which are super important to the whole concept of the Patreon. Now remember, the Patreon plan is about raising money to fund not only the projects that I want to do, also to fund, and I'll come to this later in future videos, but to fund conferences and such. While I can share and teach and learn and bring people together of like-minded who don't necessarily have the funds to go to these really expensive conferences for self-improvement. I wish to bring it to a place where learning to improve oneself is like encouraged and not necessarily free, because things that we exchange energy for, we generally have we hold more of a prestige for them, or we hold more space for them. They're better received when we're trading energy. That's one of the kind of the universal laws, is energy has to be traded for actions. And so nothing in life is for free. So, but I want to have it more available. I want to create the availability to more so that we can all start moving in a different direction as a group of people. And simply different direction, I really do mean a higher vibration. And of course, when I mean a higher vibration, I don't mean higher as physically going higher. I mean to increase, to heal from within. And that increases the higher vibration, which will then, as Carrie Kay says, ripple out and it'll affect more. So I hope you enjoyed this video of getting to know about me, about my art, my creations, my message. And yeah, I hope you enjoy all the videos. And if you could, the videos, the short videos from the I Am series, the 1-minute videos, if you can give those a few thousand likes each, that would be super, super appreciated. I spent so many hours creating those and they only last for 1 minute. And I'm not saying that they're works of art or anything, but I really do like watching them when I watch them. And now that I've become accustomed to listening to my voice, which is one of the blocks that I was working on for such a long time, is somehow my voice, hearing my voice or seeing my face. I had perhaps curses or spells put over me, so, and programs from the Matrix and such to make me hide. I thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Thank you so much for taking the time to look after yourself, to consider healing yourself. Because as I said, there's no savior coming. We're the ones, actually. So if there is a savior, if you do want a savior, look in the mirror. That's the one. There's no one else. Savior program's not happening. It's broken. Not gonna happen. Have an awesome night.